तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। 18th shloka of the 18th chapter. Please repeat after me. ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं परिज्ञाता त्रिविधा कर्म चोदना करणं कर्म कर्तेति त्रिविधः कर्म संग्रहः। Continuing from yesterday's thought, after having described the constituents or the components that are brought together for an action to be performed through the body, mind and intellect as thought, word and deed, here Bhagavan Krishna continues to elaborate on the basis of a karma. So he says, Jnanam Jneyam Parijñata. So I have heard Gurudev say that this was the shloka that inspired him to make the BMI chart, not the body mass index chart, but the body, mind and intellect. We have three instruments. The physical gross aspect is the body. Subtler than the body is the mind. Subtler than the mind is the intellect. Three equipments that we function with. Through the body we perceive the world of objects. So we become the perceiver of the objects. Through the mind, it is a seat of emotions. We feel our feelings. Through the intellect, that is where is the seat of decisions. So we think various aspects of thoughts, ideals and convictions. So as we are expressing ourselves in interacting with the world outside, at a physical level, the world is the world of objects. At the emotional level, it is the world of emotions. And at the intellect level, it is the world of ideas and convictions. So at all these three levels, technically these three are called Triputi, as he has put here. Jnanam, Jneyam, Parijñata. The knower, the known world, and the bridge that connects is the Jnana. Jnana, the knowledge. The knower knows the world through perception, through the knowledge of what is being seen. The experiencer experiences the world of experiences. So the I, the ego, is the pariknyata, the experiencer. Whenever we interact with the world, we have a presupposition as a basis for all our interactions. Why do we interact with the world outside? Why do we do what we do? Whatever we do, what is the basis of it? The basis of whatever we do in this world is a presupposition that I am aiming for both peace and happiness. Without the foundation of peace within, to find happiness is almost an impossible task. It will become clearer if you look at the same sentence in a different perspective. Can somebody say that my mind is agitated, but I am very happy? It's not possible. From the core of inside, I have to be at peace to cherish, relish and bask in that joy or joyous moment. When the mind is agitated, even if there are happenings which are leading towards joyous moments, we do not have the stability from within to enjoy that beautiful moment. We are lost in our own chaotic patterns within. So for every action that we perform, whatever be the end result, whether it be wealth, whether it is security, whether it is name, fame, we are all searching for, at the end, some amount of peace and joy within. I have been a teacher for past 22 years. I am yet to come across a person who would say, please pray for me, that I am planning this effort so that I can be miserable. Does anybody plan to be miserable? We may be the cause for misery for others. But we definitely do that also. They call it sadistic pleasure. To see others in misery and seek pleasure in it. Once I was explaining this theme to a bunch of kids, and one fellow said, but he always pokes and he always disturbs us. Then the other fellow sitting next to him said, because probably he may find joy in doing it. He enjoys doing it. We may be the cause for others' misery, but we never plan to be miserable. We are there effortlessly. But why is it that everyone seeks joy, pleasure and happiness and not misery? Because it has to be our inherent nature to be in a joyous disposition. So the experiencer jumps into the world of experience so that that interaction can bring out some amount of peace and joy within. So the quality of experience is what we are looking forward to change. The texture of that experience of the experiencer, we are aiming it to grow, to yield, to bring forth a better amount of, better quality of joy and peace. Now if that experience has to change, in the field of science they focus on the world of experienced. The objects have to be changed. The environment has to be changed. The things have to be changed. The beings around have to be changed so that I may aim for joy and happiness. But in the field of self-analysis and spirituality, the focus is not on the world of objects, but the focus is on the self within. Truly speaking, can we really change the world around us?
No.
Yeah, we may take a thing from here and put it there, or discard it, get a new thing. When things, yes, we do have that kind of accessibility. But with beings, can we change the beings? Unless I plan to change myself, the change cannot be thrust within. Therefore, the focus of all spiritual masters has been to change the experiencer so that the experience is of some quality. And it should come with maturity. Scriptures may speak, but unless I have a personal experience that the world that I am running after for seeking joy and peace, to identify that my joy and peace is not there, but it is within. Jnanam, Gneyam, Parignyata. These three are called Triputi. Jnanam, Gneyam, Parignyata. These three are called Triputi. Karanam, Karma, Karteti, Trividaha. These three are called the basis of any action. What is the end result of an action? What is the kind of result that I am seeking? Is it all comprehensive? Or is it a piecemeal? Like when you plan to go out to buy something, do you run every time there is something that you want to buy, or do you make a list of it and create a pattern so that you can, in one shot finish all the purchases? The salt is not there, so you run, go get salt. And as you started cooking, suddenly you realize that the oil is running short, so you go again get oil. And then you realize that for garnishing there is no coriander, so you go run for coriander and get it. Or do you make a complete comprehensive list and aim for rounding up all of them in a comprehensive manner? Karma. Karanam. What kind of instruments do we use? For all those men who shave, unlike me. You need a sharp instrument, a sharp blade. An axe is also sharp. Do you use an axe? No. Axe can be used to cut down some trees. That sharpness is different. But when we use something to shave, it has to be a different instrument. Right? So the instrument and the prep work that is required to keep that instrument in absolute readiness. We used to have in our ashram a carpenter, a meticulous fellow, very disciplined fellow. He would come every day by 8:30 sharp, spread out all his tools, and very endearing to watch him. Like he'll sit there with all his tools, pick each tool, tighten all its bolts and nuts, and sharpen all of them. He was a very intelligent fellow too. So one day I asked him, why do you have to sharpen your tools After coming here, can't you do that at your home? Look at his clarity. He said, these instruments get blunt on your time. And they will be sharpened on your time, not on my watch. I get paid not just for working. If I have to work efficiently, the instruments also have to be prepped up on your time, not on my time. 5 o'clock when I leave, I am no more a carpenter. I am a father, I am a husband, I am a householder who have to take care of the house. These things will be done at your cost. And if you remember, on the first day that I arrived, I came in with sharp instruments. It was on the second day onwards that I start sharpening. Can we say that sharpening that instruments is a waste of time? No, it is required. Now when you go play some sports, those who do not have a regular practice and then suddenly go in and start playing, pretty soon they'll have cramps. Because the body, if it has to be used in a proper order, the instrument, it has to be prepped up, warm up. A warm-up exercise is required. So that it is ready for various aspects of that game. So externally we see various other instruments that have to be prepped up, and we probably also keep them clean and available. But when it comes to the internal world, the instruments of our mind, intellect, are seldom looked upon, cared for. If you have a laptop or a desktop, and you have too many things on your desktop, too many files, folders saved on your desktop, what will happen? The memory that is behind gets reduced. So you have to clean up your desktop. Right? What will happen if there are too many browsers open? One fine day it will hang up. And after even that hang up, we don't take care of it, then it will suddenly crash. We understand that. Therefore, we trying to make it efficient. We use optimum level of browsers, keep the desktop clear, save the file in a proper order. Now similarly, up here in this instrument, we don't do the cleansing work. We don't do the prep work to keep it sharp and ready. There are up here items hanging over for years together. I can never forget that. That person spoke to me like this in front of all of them. The actual issue is not that they spoke. The actual issue is they spoke that in front of everybody. The impact of it would have been little less if it was just one-on-one. But the impact seems to be higher, and these things keep hanging in there without a closure for years together. Some of them create a dent and they keep bleeding from within without finding that closure. One thing is, we don't clean them up. And second, we don't keep it sharp enough. The instruments also have to be maintained in a sharp manner. The body has to be agile and available. The mind has to be sharp and available. The intellect has to maintain the clarity and be available. But if these instruments are constantly lost in the past or the future or the confusions of the present, the actions performed will not have the quality in it. And when the actions performed lack the quality, the results of the actions will get impacted. Though we complain that the quality of my result is what I am aiming for, and you do not take care of the instruments that are used in that direction, how will be the quality of the product that is produced? It will be mediocre. And then we get disappointed that I put so much of effort, why do I not get better returns? For getting better returns, all these aspects have to be taken into consideration, and we have to systematically work in cleaning and sharpening the instruments. In our school and college days, if there was a professor that would come in the first lecture of the morning and is very irritable that day, I was usually backbencher. We had a team of us, MBBS, members of Backbench Society. And of those backbenchers, I was also LLB, Lord of Last Bench. So, of all the mischief makers, I was probably the brain behind them. Don't tell this to anyone. So the teacher would come or the professor would come and is very irritable mood. So I would say he must have had fought with his spouse early in the morning. So that past experience is still open, that browser is still open, and through that browser when he is trying to work with a different environment, the output will not be the same. Karanam karma karteti. The person who is performing the action has to file, like when you close your laptop and you're working on a document. Do you not save it, close it? Yes or no?
Yes.
Earlier when there was this computer, it was introduced, we were in India. And in those days, the electricity was, Daivanugraha. When that electricity will come and go, we never had a choice. I'm working on that desktop. Every so often, every 2 minutes or 3 minutes.
Yeah, cell phone.
See, the instruments have to be used properly. Every so often, every minute or 2 minutes, we have to go save the document. Control S. Suddenly the electricity goes away and you have been working there hours. All that document is gone. So we try to save it. And then we cannot randomly save it any which way. The music files have to go into the music folder, preferably in a subfolder which is certain categories. The photographs have to go into a certain folder. The documents, PDFs in one folder, and the Word document in one folder. Do we do that? Now similarly up here, the documentation, the data that goes in has to be systematically organized. We don't even close them. We don't even bring that closure. So what happens to the system up here? Every so often it hangs over. Every so often we feel burnt out. And instead of dealing it up here, we wait eagerly for the Friday. TGIF. So what happens on the weekend? We try to change the environment so that that peace and joy can be cherished. Instead, if every day the internal aspect is taken care of, managing oneself would be amazing. In fact, every day would appear like a weekend with the best output. To put it in, it's a cliche, but whatever job that you are in seems like a vacation. Not a chore that you are burdened with. Karanam karma karte iti trividham trividha karma sangraha. Now this jnana and karma, both of them come in three different shades. Each one of them come in three different shades. That is taken for discussion in the next shloka. So in the 19th shloka, repeat after me. Jnanam karma cha karta cha. Jnanam karma cha karta cha. Tridhaiva guna bhedataha. Tridhaiva guna bhedataha. Prochyate guna sankhyane. Prochyate guna sankhyane. Yathavat shrunutanyaphi. Yathavat shrunutanyaphi. Jnanam karma cha karta cha. Knowledge, action and the doer come in three different shades. These three shades are called the gunas. Sattvic, Rajasic and Tamasic. Pure is Sattvic, agitated is the Rajasic and dull is the Tamasic. So each one of them, Jnana, purity of Jnana. Agitated Jnana. There are some pieces of knowledge or something that we learn which are of nature of agitative result. Usually gossips are of that kind. Try it. Hey, do you know this? Anyway, it is a secret. I don't know. Tell please. And after we learn, then we are like biting our nails off. So when somebody comes and I've learnt it the hard way and wants to give me a piece of information, I have a 3-step process. 1. By sharing what you have to share, will you benefit? Will you get a benefit out of it? No. By sharing what you have to share, will I get benefited? I don't know. That which you are about to share, does it have any validity of truth in it? I don't know. So if the 3 questions are not answered properly, then what you want to share, keep it with you. I don't want to take the trash in my heart. Because it will lead to agitation. If I can filter it out right at the input stage, I don't need to worry about it later. But there is something to these gossips that we love. Oh, tell. Yes. Oh, is it? And then we turn it around, add our own little shades into it and share it. Don't tell this to anybody, okay? And what is the fastest thing in this world? Gossip. Before you realize, the entire floor, entire office already knows it. And everybody says to the other one, keep it a secret. Agitative knowledge, that which we learn. And there are some which are of a dull nature. You listen to it, you become, whatever inspiration, whatever little motivation that you had, it gets killed. Then you don't feel interested in that anymore. Like for example, you are working in the kitchen really hard to make the 3 meals, and it is put on the table. And for those who it is intended for, don't come on time. Don't inform you that they are coming on time. Don't inform you that they have already had their lunch or dinner. Do you feel like cooking again? And you keep telling them, keep me informed. Oh, I forgot. You know what? It's not worth my time even cooking for you. Right? There are various examples. Trividhaha, tridhaiva guna bhedataha. So each one of them, the jnanam, karma and karta, in these 3 shades are explained in the next 9 shlokas. So this is a very practical application, so pay attention. So what is the sattvic jnana? In the next shloka. Sarva bhuteshu yenaikam bhavam avyayamikshate avibhaktam vibhakteshu tadjnanam vidhi sattvikam. Sarva bhuteshu yena ekam bhavam avyayam ikshate. Through various differences through all creatures, all beings, that knowledge which brings oneness, to see that oneness within. Avibhaktam vibhakteshu. That which is all divisive, that knowledge which brings them all together, that knowledge which brings that oneness, that vision which brings oneness and the togetherness, such wisdom or such knowledge is called sattvic knowledge, pure knowledge. That knowledge which creates divisiveness is not called pure knowledge. The British, when they ruled India, their simple ideology was divide and rule. Why do we need to spend forces to maintain them when we can spar each one against the other and make the best use of their disparity? Start the fight. We do that in a subtle manner in various ways, especially when we are raising children. And we compare. We compare the older one with the younger one. Learn from your brother. Look at him. He focuses better. He learns things. You're good for nothing. I don't know if it really helps to bring in an inspired moment for them to learn and focus better. But in between them, we have set off a competitive spirit. So much so that in day-to-day details, it starts leaking itself, the effect. Have you ever had an opportunity to ask, go empty the trash? What is the first discussion that comes forth? I did it last time. Why do I have to do it always? Why don't you tell the other one? There's always this, competitive. That which brings a divisiveness in understanding and its expression is not called sattvic. That which is comprehensive, that which brings oneness, that which brings togetherness. Yesterday at the house that I am living in, the kid asked a very beautiful question. Why is this world so different? Everyone is different, everything is so different. If it is created by the same Lord, why not there is uniformity? From a 5th grader, this question was too heavy. So I immediately pulled his hand and said, you have 5 fingers. Are any one of the fingers similar to the other? So immediately he said, the other hand. They are all similar. I am talking of this hand with respect to these 5 fingers. Are they similar? No. Each one have a different name and each one has a different purpose. It is not one against the other as to which one is greater or which one is lesser. All put together is when we can do things efficiently and effectively. We have pinky, we have the ring finger, middle finger, the index and the thumb. Each one have their own task. Isn't it? To know what that purpose is and to use it for that purpose, we create a space for our own self. Probably this is what in MBA they teach as team management. A manager, what is his job? Once you become a manager, you do less of the main work and more of the tuning in the rest of the members for that direction and purpose for which the team has been set. And we need to find each person with that particular skill, understand their skill and use them in that direction. To bring that togetherness, to bring that oneness. See, when we are in India, those who are from north, do you know how many states we have in India?
26.
Please do that and give me a right answer. Next thing to God is Google. All pervasive, all pervasive, all knowing and all powerful algorithm.
How many states in India?
He's seriously doing it. Okay. 31?
There's a delay.
29 states. Within these 29 states, we have about 23 languages and 1600 dialects. Knowing that our ashram institution is of an Indian origin, one day there were these 2 cops, detectives. They knocked on the door. I was a little confused. They flashed their badge and they said, we have a... I was like, what happened? No, we have something to inquire about. Somebody committed suicide and there is this letter that they have left. And we think it is from Indian origin. They looked Asian, of Indian origin. Can you identify this language? So I told them, just because this is predominantly an Indian origin organization, it is not a necessity that we know all languages. So then I looked at it and I said, this script is not from the Indian side. This is called Simhali, which is a Sri Lankan. They have that many variations. Now within those variations, from north, everybody who is south, they are called Madrasis. And from south, everybody up north, Punjabi. Punjabi if the mood is okay. If the mood is not okay, Bihari. We have differences. Not that in this within south there is oneness. Within south again, you are from Karnataka, you are from Tamil Nadu, you are from Andhra. Now I have to add you are from Telangana. Within Karnataka there is northern Karnataka, southern Karnataka, coastal Karnataka. Oh, we are different from them. Isn't it? Every place, even in this country, right? Southerners. So there are differences. But when we all move into a different land, a different country, you see other Indian looking. Oh, Indian? Me too, Indian. Here we seldom try talking about the south or north. It doesn't matter. You're Indian, I am also Indian. But still we carry the differences between various other races. Imagine a world wherein it's just a euphoric thought. The Star Trek or wherein different galaxies, species of different galaxies coming together, and you look at somebody and say, "You are from Earth? Me too." Then there is no difference of being white or brown or black or whatever be the skin color. Do we need to be on some space shuttle to find that oneness? Can't we get to that oneness here and now? Isn't it enough that we have spent generations after generations to create differences based on skin color? Has there to be a movement like, I am supreme, I am better than you? We are all human beings. To find that oneness in humanity, do we need to go to a different planet to understand it? Different satellite to sit there and to find that oneness? That knowledge, that wisdom which brings that togetherness, and that togetherness can be brought in not on a platform of tolerance but in a platform of acceptance. Whenever there is the interfaith dialogue, religious tolerance is one of the topics. And I get pretty irritated with that platform. Because the moment you talk the language of tolerance, that who is of a superior complex tries to tolerate that which you infer being inferior to you. You tolerate their presence. Once in such platform I spoke my mind out And after this happened 8 years ago. After that, I have not been invited out. I am beyond the tolerable range. Because it breeds that superiority inferiority complex, wherein that who feels like being superior wants to change that who is inferior, and there is always tolerance, and in that tolerable mode there is always a breaking point. But when we have acceptance, in the platform of acceptance, or on the strong foundation of acceptance, is when we can have, it can be a good breeding ground for love and compassion. To have that love and compassion, one needs to have the acceptance. Irrespective of where you come from or what background you carry it from, what religious or what nationality or what kind of race that you belong to, the oneness is seen, and in that oneness, in appreciating that oneness, acceptance evolves. That knowledge which builds that oneness is called the pure knowledge. Wherein it is all-encompassing. Everything is accepted, nothing is rejected. Everyone is accepted, no one is rejected. Just because someone is short and someone is tall, do they become inferior and superior? Just because someone is white or black or brown, do you become superior or inferior? Beyond the thin layer of skin, it is the same set of muscles, same blood, same muscular system, bone system that works. It is the same spark of consciousness or the life force that enables and enlivens each one of us. There's nothing different there. Sarva bhuteshu ena ekam. Through all these beings, there is one life force which is enlivening each one of us. To find oneness, we don't need any more reason. That reason is sufficient enough. We have these light-giving instruments here. Each one is of a different capacity. We have all the way from 0 watts to floodlights. But each one is enlivened with the electricity to bring forth that glow. There is no difference in electricity. The output of brightness is the instrument's capacity. But we try to find that oneness or group people together based on the output rather than that which is sustaining or that which is stabilizing us. That is where we focus on differences. Instead, if we have to bring forth that togetherness, that oneness is key. And once we see that oneness, it develops acceptance. In that acceptance alone there can be love and compassion, not in the mode of tolerance. And whenever that level of tolerance breaks, we have incidents like Baltimore and Ferguson. We talk of being universal brotherhood. We can't stand the next person next to us. Pretty hypocritical of our standpoint. If we start that finding that oneness within where we are and then spread forth, it is quite substantial in its standpoint. That wisdom, that knowledge which brings us together, not breaks us away from each other, that knowledge is called pure knowledge, pure wisdom. Especially in human interactions, when we have day to day, how many people do we work with on a day-to-day basis? On a regular basis, you have your family, a family of 4 or 5. Then you have your office environment. How many people do you interact with on a regular basis?
30, 40.
30, 40. And your friends and family? Friends, how many people do you interact with? It's the same 30, 40 again? So we are talking of how many people that we interact with on a day-to-day basis. Max about 30 to 40. How long have you been interacting with this group of 30, 40? Anything less than 5 years? Alright, you have been working with them for more than 5 years. You know them as much as they know you. Don't we? When we start working in a closed environment with the same people on a regular note, you know them inside out. Don't you? That knowledge which brings forth all these 30, 40 together in unison is called pure knowledge or wisdom. That which divides them and manipulates them one against the other to eke out my own personal benefits, that wisdom is a crooked wisdom. When we say this knowledge has to be applied in the entire world, let's start with this 30, 40. That is our world today. See, when you start working in a garden, when you start working with pets, we find a lot of relief in working in the garden or with the pets. Do you know why?
Nobody to interact with.
You are interacting with the plants, you are interacting with the pets.
You can't tolerate others.
But it is a relief.
You can't tolerate others.
You find that relief and peace because you tend to accept them for who they are or what they are. And then make changes within to accommodate for that acceptance. If you have a retriever, it's a cute dog. But what comes with that cuteness? Lot of hair all over. Right? So what do? You get a powerful vacuum and you brush them regularly. And you accept them for what they are. Now you sow some seeds and saplings come and you start raising your garden. You find that relief and peace because you accept the plant as is. But when it comes to human beings, absence of that acceptance leads to a frustration. How long do I tolerate them? Especially when it comes to Srimati and Shripati. Close quarters, husband and wife, between the spouses. Enough of it. Today this side or that side. Tolerance has a breaking point. Acceptance is ever expanding. The moment the choice is removed, that there is inevitability, that you have to accept them for what they are and who it is, then you start accommodating and working around, rather than trying to force the change that we think is good for them. That comprehensive knowledge which develops the acceptance within, that acceptance, that wisdom is called the Sattvic Jnana. Did I get across the emphasis? Now moving forward. That may seem very distant. Now here on, it will seem closer. Repeat after me the 21st sloka. Pruthatvena tu yajnanam Nana bhavan pratagvidhan Vetti sarveshu bhuteshu Tatjnanam vidhi rajasam That which breeds differences and pits these differences against each other in an unhealthy competitive spirit, such knowledge is called rajasic or agitative knowledge. Wherein we have differences right from, say, gender. I have heard so many when they are driving and there is somebody ahead of you who is not driving right, who is not giving signals, who is driving little erratic. What is the usual comment that is seen, that is thrown out? Everybody is silent. Nobody wants to say it. Must be a crazy woman driver.
Oh really? Is that what this?
Tell me if you have not heard that.
Maybe women also say the same thing.
They also say, I am coming to that. It's not that the women are angel either. Right from the gender, we start segregating the world around us into tiny little shredded pieces based on their differences. And then we create prejudices around it. Last time I was traveling, whenever I travel in these clothes with the same kind of hairdo or whatever. And every time at the TSA, the security thing, I am randomly picked for search. Randomly. Every time. And they have not profiled me. I've gotten used to that. So I plan in my schedule that I leave 20 minutes more ahead than the rest of you so that I can accommodate that screen. Last time I was flying, just last month, to Minneapolis from Dallas. And after I get to the gate, I check my boarding pass on my cell phone, and it was a surprise. I got bumped to the first class. So, with so much of travel, I get anyway the priority entrance. And I was glad that this is the first class. And when long flights, first class, it's worth it. So I got bumped, and I was waiting. As soon as the lady at the kiosk said, all the first class passengers, please board. I was the first one sitting. I got up and I started walking. And she looks at me and says, first class only, sir. I'm sure she must have had enough passengers who don't listen to the announcements, and when you're dealing with hundreds and thousands every day, they have a certain mindset. And I just smiled at her, put my boarding pass for scanning, and then she quickly realized that I was there for the right call. And she didn't say much. I didn't feel offended because she was doing her job. I go inside. I was in 5B, and there's already a lady sitting there in 5A. So I take out my earphones, I take out my Kindle for reading, and put the bag up. And this lady is all getting tensed up. And she looks at me and says, this is first class. I ignore, and I said, I smile and I ignore, and I say, did you not hear this is first class? I thought it was enough. Then I turned to her and said, what the heck are you doing here? I exactly know where I have to sit. And then I said, seem like with your reaction you look like a Texan. And if the number of years is what, staying in a place is what makes you a Texan, I've lived here 15 years, I'm equally a Texan, and good morning to you too. I mean, the conviction or the idea or the knowledge or the wisdom that you come with a tunnel vision, that we carry these prejudices so hard. And based on these prejudices, we pre-ascertain the environment around us. Such prejudiced knowledge is called Rajasic knowledge. And there were two kids in the same first class. They were Caucasian, and I could hear them smile at me. And one of them was saying, I was like a younger kid, was like, burn. You have to be with the kids to understand the language. What does that mean, burn?
That means that lady got smacked in the face by your comment.
Smacked. That knowledge which differentiates and creates barriers around, which drains away any existing humility within. Such knowledge, such perception, such wisdom is called Rajasic knowledge. I can share many such TSS stories with you. As I said, I go in this uniform. There was once this fellow, what's this weird clothes? It's okay to understand and ask, why are you wearing these clothes? You already pre-ascertained saying that it is weird. And you should have stopped there. Are you a drag? You understand what is a drag?
Yeah.
Those who don't know, please ask later. Somebody else. And he was a little obese guy. So I looked at his name. I said, Michael, did I ever comment on you that you are looking like an obese idiot? He was fat. Because it is none of my business. So you stick to your business. It doesn't matter what I wear or don't. That is not your job description. Wherever we make these prejudices, and through those prejudices we start filtering the world around, we can only see differences. And those differences which alienate us from a fellow human being. Every morning, afternoon, evening, whatever be the color of you, don't you feel hungry? Don't you eat food? At night, don't you sleep? Don't we have the same emotions? Don't we long for love? Don't we want that compassionate outlook? Why segregate this world? Why shred it based on these differences? Wherever these prejudices become predominant, such knowledge becomes Rajasic Jnana. And sometimes we get so mean in this prejudiced outlook. I was shocked. There was this bunch of kids in Starbucks and they were sharing jokes and they were laughing. And I just overheard one joke which really hurt. To say what kind of prejudices that we live in. So the joke was, why is there not a Mexican in Olympics? Have you heard such things? In school or something? I was really bothered by it. Do you know what the answer was? Because lawn mowing. See, we have every right to be humorous, but not at someone else's cost. If you are really brave and courageous, poke humor at one's own self, not based on these prejudices. That's why when these stand-up comedian come roasting based on gender, based on these differences and prejudices, they leave a bad taste. There's one guy that I came across, Gabriel Iglesias. He is really fat. And he comes onto the stage and he says, yes, you are looking at me and you may be thinking that I am obese and fat. Please don't say that. Because I don't consider myself as flat, but I may be fluffy in different directions. And he has the courage to stand there in front of everyone, to bring everyone to that platform of fun and humor. He has the courage to poke that fun at himself, not at someone else's cost. Because psychologically, I think, we are so embedded in this divisive kind of knowledge that it sees very subtle shades in life. For example, if somebody trips and falls, what is your instant reaction? I'm not talking of the second reaction, I'm talking of the first reaction. That is the second reaction. The moment you see somebody trip and fall, the first reaction is laugh at them. Then you may go and pick them up and help them. But the first reaction always is. And psychologically, we tend to humor ourselves at someone else's cost. And the basis for that is our own prejudiced outlook. Such prejudiced outlook divides the environment, does not bring a cohesiveness, and it creates agitations. To whip up agitation in a group of people is easier. But to look beyond their flaw and to bring them together for a noble cause, that is the sattvic one. Holier than thou. I am better than you. I think better than you. I decide better than you. I have a better logic. See, when I sit in counseling for parents, sometimes the argument is how to raise the child. Who does a better job? Whose thinking is better? And when the child does good, my child. When the child is not doing good, your son did this. What exactly are you trying to say? That the goodness streak is my side of the genes and the bad streak is your side of the genes? Even there, subtly what we are doing is creating the differences. Are you getting the impact of this divisive kind of knowledge? Very subtle, very impactful, that it takes us away into the realm of agitation, and those who are with this kind of divisive knowledge are sure to be agitated and can never be at peace. If we are mentally agitated, yes, we love to poke at someone as the cause, but more often than so, the cause is my own divisive perspective of the world around. It is not the world around. It is my divisive perspective of the world. You may even observe and see the flaw in them, but don't rub it into them. Create an environment wherein you build the bridge of acceptance, and once you have been accepted, once the rapport is formed, once that bond is created, then you can uplift them if necessary. But otherwise, we start creating that agitation, and those who are embedded in that agitation, wherever they go, they become the cause for agitations. There are two kinds of people who give happiness. Those who come to give happiness, and those who leave to leave us with happiness. Which category do we want to belong to? Wherever I go, if people make excuses to leave that environment, it speaks volume about us, not about them. If we are walking, talking, interacting, human repellent, then there is something to be changed within. And usually the reason would be our own divisive perspective of the world around. Vetti sarveshu bhuteshu tat jnanam rajasam smritam. Now, if this itself is so threatening, imagine how is the tamasic knowledge. It may get a home run faster. Repeat after me the 21st shloka. 22nd shloka. Yat यत्तु कृत्स्नवदे कस्मिन्
यत्तु कृष्णवदे कस्मिन्
कार्ये सक्तमहैतुकम्
कार्ये सक्तमहैतुकम्
अथत्वार्थवदल्पं च
अतत्त्वार्थवदल्पं च
तत्तामसमुदाहृतम्.
तत्तामसमुदाहृतम्.
Now what is the tamasic knowledge? Now tamasic knowledge is that knowledge wherein we wrongly cling on to one result or one effect and then decide that this is it and never allow the scope of growth. Such knowledge is called tamasic knowledge. Like what are the examples? While walking, have you ever tripped and fallen? Sure. Do you stop walking after that? I was in a line. This happened in Washington, D.C. And the person who was standing behind me, he just made a conversation and they said, "Are you from here? Or are you on business?" So I said, "No, I'm from Dallas. I'm here for next 7 days." "Oh, did you fly?" I said, "Of course." Then he confessed saying that I have stopped flying after 9/11 because these aeroplanes the flights are unpredictable. It scares the living daylights out of me to fly them because so that insecurity. So I should have kept quiet. I said, "Sir, do you know the second highest killer in US today? Do you know what is the first one? Guns. What is the second one? Other road accidents. Flight comes as the 25th or the 26th one. So you are precariously living if you are driving around than flying. You should have seen the concern on his face. See, things happen in life. But to ascertain that this is it, and there is no better thing to happen in future, and lose entire hope, and live adamantly with that knowledge, such knowledge which stifles one's own living, such knowledge is called the dull, immature knowledge. And those who are perfectionists, they usually fall in this category. Because they have ascertained a certain mode of working. And to execute certain things, there are millions of ways to do it. But the perfectionists assume that their method is the absolute best. And therefore, rest of them, whether it be husband, wife, children, or friends, family, and peers in the office, they all have to adhere to this path that they have chosen. This is it. When we were studying in the ashram, It's a very tight schedule that we are trained. In the evening, after having done Narayana Seva in the ashram, we are tired. At that time, if there is snacks, and as snacks there are fruits that have to be cut, especially these mangoes and other things, you're already tired. You want to eat rather than cut and serve. There was this elderly gentleman, and he was one of those perfectionists. He was about 65, 66. So I found a method. So I would take this bunch of mangoes, sit right across him, and take the cutting board and intentionally slap those mangoes around and cut them in a haphazard pattern. And by the time I come to the second mango, he is already so agitated and irritated looking at the way I am cutting it. He would say, "You children of these days don't know how to do things. Move!" And he would take the entire bunch and start cutting it meticulously. One thing that I have understood is perfectionists are those who have learned the art to suffer perfectly. It is one thing to expect perfection out of one's own self, but to expect perfection around from everyone else is none of our responsibility. And there are millions of ways to do things. There is no one way to do a certain thing. The sooner we understand and appreciate the others from their background as to why they are doing what they are doing, we will be at peace. Otherwise, we are so vulnerable that anything and everything can start disturbing us and distracting us from within. To be perfect in every aspect of our living, be the role model. And when they see this perfection as an expression in every walk of our life, these values cannot be taught. They are caught. And those who deem that role model as an ideal, they will start implicitly applying it into their life. That's where they say, walk the talk. We cannot thrust it on the environment. You change, and the rest of the world around you changes as a slow metamorphosis around. But instead, if we start pushing it across, because we think too highly of one's own self, as if our methods are the best, then we are only alienating ourselves. And misery is written all over them. Such people have everything except a smile on their face. They have all luxuries, every comfort that you can think of. But ask them, how are they? Miserable. And it is self-inflicted. In Tamil they say, Devya. What does Devya mean? It doesn't have the same impact as Devya. Is it necessary? Is it warranted? We have so many factors that unsettle us. Do we need to create something, inflicting ourselves to create that misery again? Our mindset, our psyche has gone so deep that we want all the plants to be cut in one pattern. The evergreens, they have to be in one size and shape. I was taken to a garden. I don't know how they pronounce it, but catch me if you can. The pronunciation. Bonsai? Bonsai?
Japanese art.
So they have these big, huge trees grown in little pots or troughs or whatever they call it. Stunted growth. And in that stunted growth, it's an art. And the moment I looked at it, I could feel the pain of those trees. And then they were talking about the method in which they are grown. There's a main root. It's called the tap root. And that main root is cut. And it survives on the tertiary root system. And lack of that main tap root, which is cut at a certain stage of that tree, that it never grows beyond that height. Thank goodness, there is no other species more powerful than human being. Otherwise, we would also be cut in such shapes and sizes. Can you imagine that? Suddenly you come back from school or office and you suddenly are like this, or 1 year gone. Why? They thought it was unnecessary extra growing. We have the audacity to manipulate the world around. Things, beings, creatures. Rather than enjoy the expression of that divine through all these beings as is. I do understand sometimes when you prune, it helps their growth and flourishing existence. Like you take care of your children. Sometimes you have to tell them the hard truth as is. But we seldom have the capacity to accept what is as is. Everything has to be tapered according to my whims and fancies. And everyone around has to dance accordingly. Those who dance accordingly are the ones that I like. And those who don't, we alienate ourselves from them. Such stifled existence is because of the tamasic knowledge. A different shade of the same thing. But you can multiply the examples. Very subtle, very strong and powerful is this pattern. How one sits, how one eats, how one behaves, it has to be according to my taste. How one lives, how one interacts. Let the nature spring forth with its nature, rather than we trying to smear our whims and fancies across. Wherever we become such, or wherever such individual exists, they create a pressured environment. If such one is the boss, all the subordinates are praying that may this fellow get transferred to a different division. Do you observe that there is a pattern in every generation when the children finish their school, 12th grade. Where do they choose their college? Those who are on the west coast choose colleges from east coast. Those who are south choose a college which is north. Those who are north go south. Do you know why it is? They want to stay away, as far away as possible from the pressured existence. Do I need to elaborate on that?
No.
See, such mindsets, such patterns, you recognize in one's own self and start working on each one of them so that we can grow out of it rather than be stuck in it and feel that pressured existence. So today we have seen 3 aspects of jnana. Tomorrow we will see the karma and the doer, the karta. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.